We are here once again, as you are there. Mike and Mike's Off-Air Podcast. Mike Pesto.
And Mike O'Neill right here. Hello there.
Hello to everyone watching on YouTube. Appreciate you. Now, we did something for the first time last week, and I want to keep doing this. You don't just have to go to YouTube anymore to see the video. I'm also going to post it online at my975fm.com. You can follow us there as well as listen to the podcast if you'd rather just listen, but you can watch it now on YouTube or, again, at my975fm.com. So, hello.
And here we are, and what an exciting Olympics it has been so far, Mr. Pesto.
As I've literally watched one day. We had a poll question that was up on Facebook Monday, I think, and just simply asked at that point, have you been watching the Olympics? And it's been split about 50-50. I had some downtime Sunday, I think it was, and I thought it was interesting just going from watching dressage, is that how it's pronounced? Watching that, the equestrian event,
Yes.
1 minute, and then having them go to men's basketball the next minute. It's just the ping pong of you're watching this, no, now you're watching that, because it was all live at that point. They're just going wherever the action was, they had cameras there.
Well, here's the good news. That's NBC's coverage of Paris. If you have Peacock, and I do, you can go there and you can go find anything you want. So, for instance, last night was the big women's gymnastic finals. As soon as it was done, you could go to Peacock, call it up, and watch it.
Okay.
So you can stream anything that's happened on Peacock.
Happened, past tense.
Or wait around and watch what NBC is willing to present immediately, because they do a good job of it. But like you said, it's a bit whiplashy.
Speaking of Peacock. And we'll get into some controversial aspects of the games, including the opening ceremony before we finish this up. And we're going to spend the whole time not whooping around and doing other things, but talking specifically about the Olympics, because there's so much to talk about.
Yeah.
Have you caught Al Michaels' recaps of the games every day on Peacock?
If I'm honest, no.
Good, because it's not actually him.
Get out of here.
He has not been a part of the Olympics since 2016. He's retired from doing that, and I think he's retired from just about everything at this point.
Pretty much.
It's artificial intelligence, Al Michaels.
Get out of here.
So they've jacked up his voice, and they've played it for him. This is met with his blessing. So don't think that they're doing this.
So it's presented in this AI light.
Correct, but I don't know. I haven't heard it yet. I haven't seen it. He was beyond impressed. It said it sounded just like him, but it's not him. I'm assuming he gets some level of compensation for it, but nothing compared to what he would get if he was actually there, whether it be in Paris or maybe in New York, just doing a voiceover for it if he didn't feel like traveling. But yeah, that's not actually Al Michaels. It's a computer sounding like Al Michaels, and they just plug in what they want AI Michaels to say.
And if you know Al at all, I wonder if he's like sitting there at the end going, no, I wouldn't have said it like that. I would have said, because, you know.
As long as the check clears, I'm guessing he doesn't care at this point. I hate this.
What?
The whole idea,
of
it.
Listen,
there are so many great broadcasters out there right now.
Yeah.
Mike Tirico does a good enough job, and some of the other hosts as well that have stepped in. Colin Jost has been doing a lot of things with the surfing in Tahiti, which we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. But with the broadcasters that are out there, this is keeping someone else from doing that. So there's an opportunity that someone is missing because, well, we think people would like the nostalgia of hearing Al Michaels, even though it's not really him.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting that they can do it. It would seem that there would have been a better way to do it, to not actually have it an actual recap. And rather than do the recaps with an AI, they should have found some sort of entertaining way to AI something different just for fun.
Or, here's an idea, don't do it at all.
Well, you're not an AI fan at all.
Not really not.
Well, and as a writer of commercials, all of the AI services out there, no matter how you stoke the fire or augment it or ask it to do whatever, you get a solid C- just about every time you send something into the press, if you will.
Now, how would most people feel about that? And there's those, and again, if you want to comment on YouTube or with the the post that's up online at my975fm.com, which is the audio of this podcast. If you're all about it, how would you feel if Al Michaels was no longer with us? Or if Al Michaels didn't get a penny out of this? They just took his voice and rolled with it just because they can.
Oh, they would get so sued. That wouldn't happen. It would be.
But if they did,
unethical.
Just personally, how would you feel about them doing that?
It's unethical in my mind.
So you would not be a fan then.
No, not at all.
Now, how about if they paid his estate? They paid his wife. I'm assuming he's married. Then his wife is still with us, or family members. If they got paid, but he was no longer with us, and you still heard his voice doing the recaps or things like that.
If it was with their blessing and respectful, and they were paying them, why not?
I see. I'm a huge fan of the Chicago Cubs. We've covered that in previous podcasts. So obviously, big fan of Harry Carey. I would not want to hear Harry Carey at this point, he's been long since passed, do a Cubs game for nostalgia purposes. He's gone. The closest that they come, if you go to Wrigley Field in the summer, they'll have video of him doing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game."
Yeah.
But you look in the booth, and he's obviously not there. There's no hologram Harry Carey doing it. Once we're gone, we're gone. Let others do it at that point. Otherwise, you're putting the rest of us out of work.
Yeah, you wanted to do the recaps. I know. You put your name in, didn't you?
They never returned my phone calls.
I knew it. How about that women's gymnastic redemption tour, Michael? That was something to behold.
I didn't see it.
Well, I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait. You know the story with Simone Biles last Olympics. She chose to step away right in the middle because she just couldn't perform anymore because for whatever reason she was getting what's called the twisties. That's when these aerobatic girls go up in the air and they just can't find where they are anymore.
Really?
They're very much like fighter pilots. They just have that fifth or sixth sense where they just know where they are, where they're with their eyes closed. They just know this. And Simone was suffering from the twisties. That's why she was hitting the ground. Why she just said, I can't do this.
Was it an equilibrium issue with an inner? Because I know your inner ear handles the equilibrium, and sometimes that'll make you a little.
No, but it wasn't a tech. It's a head thing. It's a mind thing.
Oh,
it's
okay.
in your head. And these girls are super women. The way they do the things they can. I can't walk and talk at the same time. These ladies can do triples and quadruples and land on their feet with a smile. I'd fall on my back and break my ass. And these girls are doing this stuff. And so they've been calling this the redemption tour. Some of the girls last year had to step up. Suni Lee and the other gals Jordan Childs had to step up and pull out silver. Well, they called it the redemption tour this year.
So they won silver last time, and so this is the redemption tour.
With Biles out, and then they came back this year, and they just won the all-arounds. Gold.
So if theirs is the redemption tour, and they went from silver to gold, what do we call the men that they haven't medaled in who knows how many years, and the day before the women won the gold, the men won the bronze, which doesn't sound as impressive as gold, but if you realize they haven't medaled in years.
And it was fun to watch. There were some things happened that nobody expected. I don't know if you're familiar with the pommel horse kid. They were calling him Clark Kent. Stephen Nedorosik, I think you say his name, Nedorosik.
Yeah, because he wears glasses.
But he looks like Clark Kent. He's the nicest kid on the planet, but he takes his glasses off to do the thing. Mm-hmm. Well, it's cute. One of the announcers goes, you have to wear glasses to see what you're doing, to walk around. How do you get up on a pommel horse and do what you're doing with your glasses off? And he goes, that's a good question. But honestly, I don't use my eyes for any of it. I feel my way all the way through it. I was like, oh, that makes sense.
You do it enough times, I would imagine, yeah, that's exactly what happens. And with him not relying on his eyes, your other senses get heightened, including your sense of touch, so you can feel exactly where your hand is on the horse and know, I've got to lift my legs up a little bit higher because my hand isn't right where I want it to be.
It's just autopilot at that point for guys like that. And he said something that really made me laugh. He goes last, right? Everybody else goes and does their thing, and then he's up. And he goes up, and at the end when he goes, so how was it? How did it go? And he's turned to his friends, his other performers, and he goes, when you guys hit, I hit. You guys did hit, and so did I. and every one of them, and they pulled it off, and they won that legendary bronze medal, which, like, now you know why it's legendary. They haven't won anything.
It's been a minute, and when I did my big three, every day I do like the big three things that I think everyone's talking about. Yesterday, the fact that the men won bronze was number one. Today, obviously, the women winning gold was number one, and the little punchline was, so, men, step your game up.
Little bit.
But again, kudos to the guys for at least medaling this time. It has been a very, very long time.
And Simone Biles, Jordan Childs, Suni Lee, Jade Carey, Hesley Rivera. Holy man, ladies, that was so good. None of them missed a trick. It was like the video for how do you do this perfectly. And at that point, it's gotten to the point now for some of these competitions, swimming, gymnastics, perfection is the only way to get gold. And they did it. They nailed it. In fact, even, there was a moment when Jordan Childs, who I love to watch because she's got such personality, she actually, you could see where her foot just touched for a second through something. And she pulled it off with such style and strength that it appeared to be part of the routine. And the deduction wasn't enough to throw them off their game. But to watch her do it, you're like, that was just so good. She's just so good. You couldn't even hardly tell that there was a mistake there.
Now, I haven't seen it. I'll probably catch some highlights at some point, or maybe I won't. I guess, again, 50-50 chance with me. But the two things that I knew going into the team competition is that Simone Biles had an injury to her foot or her calf.
Right calf.
Right calf. So that didn't affect her at all?
No. 2 nights ago, you saw where all of a sudden you were watching and you go, not again. Simone, immediately something happened when she was warming up, and she and the coach just walked straight out. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I saw this 4 years ago. What's going on? And she came right back, and they had worked her calf. And then all she needed to do was tape up for the remainder of the performances.
No. What they should have done is gotten the Mr. Miyagi trick from Karate Kid and hands together, rub them, and then there's some magic that happens there. And I know Daniel LaRusso, that's in Cobra Kai now, he knows how to do that. So they should have had him go on the trip and hands, rub, and no.
Not wax on, wax up? No, that's a different part of the story.
And I also know, I don't know, maybe she is going to break this off in the individual competition. There's something with the uneven bars that there's something that she does.
It's the Biles.
She actually had to go to the judges ahead of time, apparently, and explain to them what it was, so they knew to look for it. They knew the interest to get, so they knew what type of difficulty level it was, so they could judge her accordingly.
And you know what's funny? She pulled it out.
So she did do it with the team competition.
She didn't last night. She pulled it out. Meaning
she took it out. She pulled it out as though she did it.
Because everybody was talking about it. Here it comes, here it comes. And the announcer was like, okay, it's right after the start, right? Oh, she pulled it out.
And they will do that on occasion if they just don't feel it, because the last thing you want in a competition like that is to attempt something that throws you off so much it ruins the whole routine. You only do it, and you see this in the Winter Games quite a bit. I mean, the ice skating. Well, someone's going to do a quadruple, and they turn it into a triple.
Right.
And like in the last second, they realize, I don't have it. Let me turn it into a 3, and maybe I can revisit it later. But right now, I got to nail the rest of this.
Because they will throw it in later if they feel like they can. If in that 1 second, they're like, I didn't do it. Okay. And they're like, all right.
Yeah. But
screw it. Here we go. And then they do it.
So I wonder with the individual competition, because that's also the pressure of realizing I've had a team depending on me. Yep. She has nothing to prove to anyone at this point. I will be surprised if she doesn't do it in the individual, even if she doesn't, even if she's not 100% certain she's going to pull it off. I still think she's going to do it.
There isn't a person out there that understands Olympics that's watching her right now that don't think that she right now, today, is as good as she's ever been, as old as she is right now. So you're very likely to see some real history next, and it's probably going to be her last time. She's the old lady of the game right now at what, 27 or whatever she is?
I was surprised when she made the announcement she was coming back. I thought she's had the best of her game, and it sounds like no, she's got quite a bit left in the tank.
Well, I hate the haters that landed on her last Olympics because she was brave, smart, and gutsy to walk away, take care of herself, root on her teammates. She didn't just walk out; she was still there, and she actually got a bronze at that Olympics on one of the other things. But the fact that she made that choice, recovered, and came back and is as good as ever, I have nothing but respect for all 4'8" of Simone Biles. I love how she's just a little tiny thing.
I should have followed her a little bit more, too, because I know her husband is a wide receiver for the Chicago Bears, my football team, and he is not at training camp right now.
That's right.
Everybody else is doing training camp. He is there with the team's permission to root on his wife because they realize, hey, this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Besides, he wasn't going to be one of the starters anyway. He's not that great of an NFL player, but he is on the team, and when everything finishes up, he'll join his team, and she'll root him on.
And that really was a good call. But God bless those gymnasts. The swimmers have been doing pretty well. By the way, it's all in all, it's going pretty well. The Americans, we have 4 gold medals, we have 8 silver medals. 9 bronze medals spread across everything. And the swimming's been great. Katie Ledecky did great. The women's 1,500 meter freestyle, we got gold there. I think everybody knew Katie was going to win. She won. It was great watching her come down to the last. The shot of the pool is about half the pool. And no, you're about at the 3/4 mark of the pool, and all you can see is Katie. She's that far ahead. All you can see is Katie.
I heard about that. I haven't seen the video yet, but yeah, that's basically what I heard. Is it was almost like, was it Secretariat years ago? Just the lead that horse had in one of the races, and just barely a horse in the background of the picture.
All right, surfing. You're not too happy that the surfing's happening in the French overseas territory that it's at,
Tahiti.
Teahupo'o in Tahiti.
10,000 miles plus away from Paris.
I argue, how far is Puerto Rico from America?
And I would argue then you should not have surfing there. If Puerto Rico hosts the games, then Puerto Rico can have surfing.
Well, unfortunately, America has some pretty bitchin' beaches, so
Yeah.
that would be a hard argument.
When the games are in L.A., then yeah, there's surfing right there in San Diego. That's close enough. You start getting into 10,000 miles away from where the games are actually taking place. If it's a different day than what Paris actually experiences, then you got to move it, or just not have that as an event that year. If it can't take place somewhere within the home country, then don't have that as a discipline. There are enough other sports you can pick from. No one's going to cry foul if you don't have surfing at this particular games because it's in France.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I thought it was funny.
It is funny. That's why I'm laughing at how hysterical it is that they're having surfing 10,000 miles away from Paris.
The only thing that might have been just a little funnier was that moment the other night when German surfer Tim Elter was ceremoniously de-pantsed as he was surfing. He literally went off the board, and the water did something that literally pantsed him butt up, and it's a very popular meme right now on the internet.
I haven't seen that, but I have seen the picture and photographer who took it. Kudos to you. There was one of the surfers that was projected up in the air.
Yeah.
And his surfboard was at the same level he was, and he held his fizzer up in the air, and it looks like he's literally levitating over the waves. I thought for sure it was a Photoshop deal, but I've seen it everywhere now. It was just a photographer being in the right place at the right time. I'm sure he snapped 100 pictures of that moment taking place and just picked the right one that showed the board and the surfer on the same level. So where's the ground?
Yeah, it looked almost impossible.
Yeah.
But it was a real-time shot. Rugby, my God, one of the most stunning finishes of the Olympics. U.S. women's rugby won its first medal ever, which is pretty cool. Men's soccer headed to the quarterfinals. We're doing great there.
I'm going to take a nap now.
You don't like either of those?
You're losing me.
How about men's basketball? That's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
That was. Did you watch the beginning of that game?
The first Dream Team years ago, the first year that they did it, phenomenal. Great novelty. Please stop now.
Well, do you know what's funny is that they're not. I mean, the first time we went, they killed everybody. The difference, the disparity between the average competing Olympic team and the Americans was, 23 miles. Not so much now. The first game, it was obvious that Team USA hadn't put their big boy pants on yet. They were moving ahead fast. I think they were playing Serbia. Or whoever they were playing, they were going ahead. They were like, oh, we're going to have to play. We're going to have to really work at this. And then they did win. They won by a bit. But at first you could tell that they hadn't shifted into fourth yet.
See, my thinking is we should have – I don't know why it was ever opened up to professionals. It should have been amateur athletes from Jump Street. I mean, the professional athlete – going back to the AI thing, it's okay – they've had their moment in the sun. They still have their moment in the sun. They'll still play NBA basketball. Let the college players do this. And the same thing goes with the other nations as well, because I know they're doing the same thing at this point to keep up with the Americans because of the Dream Teamers years ago.
Oh, yeah.
There's no reason to have professional athletes as part of the Olympics. And that I'm going to be a hard and fast hardliner on that. That's probably one of the reasons I don't care to watch any of the sports with professional athletes. Whatever it happens to be, basketball just happens to be the most notable one.
Well, my son is LeBron's biggest fan, and
he can watch him during the NBA basketball season, or watch highlights during the Olympics of him playing. No reason to have him at the Olympics.
Well, those were most of the moments I remember so far. There's
more
to
to
be
talk
made.
about the moment before the moments.
Which yes, let's talk about. I know what you're talking about.
And after we do that, I've got a little pop quiz for you of some of the actual games being played at the Olympics this year, and some games that maybe should be in years to follow.
Are we at first talking about what was going on above the boats coming down the river on opening day?
Well, I did not see the opening ceremony, and
I
you
did.
cannot find anywhere on YouTube now video of the controversial moment with the now what was the name of the Greek god that was depicted? Dionysius,
no, I had it.
Dionysus.
Dionysus. Thank you.
So I'm sure you remember the controversy. There was a scene there that took place that resembled the scene from the Last Supper, except Dionysus, whatever the heck his name is, was on the table, painted blue. The explanation was it had nothing to do with the Last Supper. This was talking about the Greek gods. Hello,
right.
These are
Greek games.
The Greek games, and they tied in some of the Greek gods that years ago were also worshipped by those who were in France at the time.
And because it was in Paris, the fashion center of the galaxy, they had a sort of a catwalk vibe going as well.
Yeah, shortly after. Was it before or after they did the catwalk?
Okay, all part of it.
Because there was the one part where they were kind of gathered around a woman with a headdress on who was actually the DJ there. And then Papa Smurf comes out of nowhere and sits at the table, and it kind of changed from there. Now, again, I have not seen video. I've only seen stills. I've read all the explanations. I'm a devout Christian. I know you are as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not offended by it. And I saw a post from a bishop or a pastor that said Jesus would invite every single one of those people at his table.
Exactly.
So it was not supposed to be what it was. Someone, though, and maybe they knew this, we'll never know, going in, had to see the visual and say, hey, just so you know, I know you're not going for it, but this kind of does resemble the Last Supper. Are you prepared for a little blowback?
I think the answer is yes and yes.
I don't think they were prepared for it. They may have thought it was coming, but they certainly weren't prepared for it to this point where they're actually apologizing and taking video down off of YouTube.
I think I understand it because when I saw it, I did turn to my wife and say, in fact, I asked it incredulously, I said, they're not making fun of the Last Supper, right? And my wife was like, no, I don't think so. I think it's fashion and drag queens and something about, and she said, I heard something about the Greek god. And, okay, and I looked it up. Oh, yeah, okay, he's the god of, made sense in the context of what they were
wine
talking
and pleasure and,
And so I said, okay, well, that sounds about right. And then I went, okay, and that's all the more it bothered me. I noticed, I asked the question, and I moved along.
Okay.
And I think probably most everyone else could have too. They
They
didn't.
Yeah. In an election year, everyone's going to turn that into something. All right,
And I love her, but you can always expect Candace Cameron Bure to come out for the Christians. I love her to
Absolutely.
death, but you can almost always expect it.
All right, so I want to throw out some events to you. I want you to tell me if these are actual events or not.
Uh-huh. Oh, really?
And
so either they are or
in
aren't
this
Olympic.
year's games, because sometimes they'll rest games for a while, sometimes
God,
they'll
I
bring them
don't
back. So
know
are
all
these
of them
actual
now.
games or not?
I wouldn't have been sure about surfing, so this is going to be fun.
All right. Badminton
No.
actually is
Get outta here.
a summer Olympic sport in these games.
Oh, my gosh.
Cornhole.
There's no possible way.
It should be. When we get the games back at some point in LA, cornhole should absolutely be an Olympic sport. If you're going to have badminton, you got to have cornhole.
Well, yeah, because there's a little more technical skill to badminton. It's kind of like junior tennis in the air, but you know what though? If you've played cornhole, there's some skill there too.
Yes, there is. Absolutely, there
I mean,
is.
the guys that are good can
And
consistently
nail it every
nail
time.
it.
How about breaking?
As in dancing?
Correct.
Get out of here.
Is an actual Olympic sport this year.
Wow.
How about ballroom dancing?
I guess my laugh gave you my answer. Is it really?
It has been previously, but it is
Ballroom
not this
dancing.
year. So breaking, yes. Ballroom dancing, no.
All of the dance judges from
Dancing with the Stars?
Yes would be there.
Yeah, they should be.
Hey, you're gold medal winner.
How about bocce?
Yeah, I know bocce is.
Yeah. No, it's not.
Are you sure?
Yeah, and it is pronounced. Trust
Oh,
me.
you know why
It
I
is
s-
pronounced bocce. My wife will get on you for it.
You're right. And do you know why I said yes? Because it's at Special Olympics.
And it
And
should be.
sorry about that.
If you're going to have badminton, you might as well have. Anything that you could do like that should be in there as well. How about pickleball? Huge here in America right now.
You know, I was going to say it is big, but I don't know the answer to that. I'll guess maybe yes.
No, should be though.
It's a fun
Again,
game.
You've got badminton, you've got tennis. You should have pickleball. How about golf?
Yes?
Yes, it is. How about football?
No.
Football is as well. Skateboarding.
Football is an American. We have a team.
Apparently. Skateboarding.
Yes.
Sport climbing.
I don't know about that one.
That one is as well. I'll give you one last one before we wrap up. Cycling. Which one of these is not a discipline in cycling? BMX freestyle, BMX racing, or mountain biking?
Mountain biking is a kind of bike, I think.
This is a trick question. Actually, all three of those are disciplines in cycling this year.
Good
so
for you.
mountain biking. I don't know how you judge it. I guess it's all on time. But first one down off the mountain wins.
I'm guessing it's racing,
Yeah, as long as it doesn't take place in Tahiti, I'll be on board with it.
and I can't do mountain racing. I'd get about a half a mile and die.
No more events in Tahiti, please.